Hello, everyone. David Robinson here. Thank you so much for joining in on this live this evening. I truly appreciate you being here. Yeah, today is the 23rd of March, and normally on the March on this date, closest to the 23rd, you would like to do a fast and prayer for Daniel, also for all the missing loved ones out there, because we have, like I said, you guys, we have a lot of missing loved ones in this country, and it's very devastating. So we definitely want to make sure we're not leaving any family member out. We want to make sure we're actually praying for all the family members that's out there, because that's we know over 2,000, that's actually 3,500 people go missing every day in this country. 2,000 or so of those are children, and some family somewhere is devastated right now, don't know where to turn and what to do. So we always got to keep them in mind to make sure that we're actually praying and doing everything we can. So, having said that, I want to do a quick prayer. I don't know why my screen looking the way it does. It looking like some little weird thing, but having said that, you guys, I just want to give a quick prayer for those families, and as well as my son. And because I believe in prayer, I believe in God, I believe in miracles, and I know things would happen in due time. So, Heavenly Father, I thank you, Lord, for this day, blessing us to come here together in one, in everybody coming together in one place. And we thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day. We thank you for your goodness and mercies, your protections. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for letting us come together to pray for all those missing families out there, the missing loved ones, their families, the ones that's going through things right now. You know their heart, you know their mind, you know their troubles. Ask your Heavenly Father to guide their steps, guide their way, help them, Heavenly Father, to find their loved ones quickly. Bless law enforcement to do the right things, and also bless them with all the resources they need to find loved ones. Heavenly Father, we thank you, everybody that's here tonight. You know their needs as well, their love, their support that they have for someone they don't know. I really appreciate them as well. Heavenly Father, we thank you, God, for all things. Amen. So thank you guys for joining in again. Like I said, joining in again for this live. I'm see if I can get this screen right. I really don't like this little small thing. Um, but yeah, thank you guys for joining in with me on this live on the 23rd. It's going on almost 3 years, you guys. It'll be June the 23rd. It'll be 3 years that my son has been missing. I'm still not giving up my fight. That's one thing for sure. I do have a meeting that will be coming up finally, guys. I've been fighting to get it, and of course, they had a new sheriff that came in town in Phoenix, Arizona, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Skinner is his name, and hey, I've been trying to fight to get this meeting that's been holding everything up. We had a meeting getting ready to get set up with the Buckeye Police Department, but we was waiting on one entity, and that's the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. But like I said, it's a transition going on at the time with Sheriff in the zone, who ended up retiring before his term is up. We have Sheriff Skinner, like I said, taking over, and I wanted to make sure that he got it in January, make sure that he got his foot in the door in a sense and get his things together. And also, I was pushing it for April, and not getting it this coming month. We had made an agreement to do it the first part of next month. So see what happened to that point, you guys, because enough is enough. You guys know I've been paying for keeping the storage of these forensics that need to be done. Again, I'm going to constantly fight about that. So I just want to jump on real quick and tell you guys, I just want to talk about that, kind of give a little overlay or of everything that happened. It's my son's case. For those who don't know Daniel's story, that just happened to jump in and try to learn more about Daniel's story, I want to kind of start at the beginning. For the story that we know, you guys, there's a lot more details that would kind of contradict some of the things that was actually the storyline that we put out in the public. But most of it is exactly what we have right now. So I would talk about those stories without trying to add in some of those details, but give an overlay of the events that happened in Daniel's case, and we'll go from there. So I see you guys on the side. Thank you so much for being here. When the lights and camera turn off, I will be here. When the interest and conversation fade, I will be here. When there's no one around, a father will do anything it takes to be there for his son, to protect his family, without these special people behind me, I wouldn't have a search. Yeah, because of the way seatbelt locked, so we know seatbelt. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Again, for those who just joining in, I'm David Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Robinson. Just want to talk about some of the things that happened in my son case, starting kind of from the beginning. For those who haven't even heard of Daniel case and hear the full story of those, just want to kind of do an overlay over it, a quick overlay, you guys. It won't be very, very detailed, but it'll be enough for you guys to get the gist of what actually happened. As you guys know, on June the 23rd of 2021, I received a phone call from my daughter. She was living in Phoenix at the time. Daniel was living in a city called Tempe, which is a neighboring city of Phoenix. But she called me one evening here in South Carolina and told me that she was really devastated. She heard someone came to her door. Someone that she didn't know was asking if Daniel was there, and said that he was looking for Daniel, and also that he identified himself as someone from the job. And she was really puzzled how he knew where she lived, and he said that he's been to her apartment complex with Daniel in the past, but he was nevertheless looking for Daniel and see if he was at her location. He told her also that he was supposedly being at work, where he last was seen at work around sometime early that morning. And so the thing is, she was puzzled about it, you guys, and she called me, of course, you know, like anybody would, call their parents and let us know what's going on. And I'm sure she called her mother as well. But she called me and asked me, tell me what's going on, and try to have to make sure she's calm about it. And what we ended up doing was to get her to go to his apartment to see if he was there. At the same time, of course, I'm calling family. I called his mother, and see if she heard from him at all, and called some of the family members, the friends, like I said. But in the meantime, like I said, my daughter was going to go to his apartment to see what's going on. When she got there, of course, I had communication with her on the phone. She had took someone with her to make sure that happened as well. And so when she got there, on thing she noticed that his vehicle's missing, and that his apartment, the living room light was on, and she can tell because she was looking through the patio blinds, and you could see partially see inside the living room. So, of course, things didn't seem right. Her description to me didn't sound right to me. So I just want to make sure, with him not answering the phone and things like that, because that's very out of character for Daniel as well. He's not going to ignore everybody's phone somehow. And so of course, the first thing I want to do is call law enforcement to do a welfare check, right? So, but it took me a minute. It took me a minute to do so, you guys. I'll be honest with you. It took me at least about almost an hour before I actually made the decision to call the Tempe Police Department. And that's because, I'll think about police brutality, because we see it a lot in this country. You call law enforcement to help your loved one, go see about your loved one. Next thing you know, they shot your loved one. And, being that I wasn't in Arizona, it gave me the pause, the kind of pause there to even want to call, but reluctantly I did. I called. When I say reluctantly, I did. At the time, I was afraid. I was afraid, hey, look, I don't know what cops, would do in the situation. So, not saying he was doing something wrong or anything like that, but just the way things happen in this country. And a lot of times we get shot and you don't do nothing wrong. So the thing is, went to call Tempe Police Department, and Tempe, they declined to do the welfare check. Especially when I mentioned the little information I did end up getting in that little wait to call. was that he was last seen by some white tank mountains. Didn't know what that was at the time. Arizona have a lot of mountains. So when I mentioned that, the Tempe Police Department decided to say, hey, no, well, that's not in our jurisdiction. That's in the Buckeye Police jurisdiction. And they referred me over to the Buckeye Police Department. And that's when I called the Buckeye Police Department, who ended up um, telling me I had to wait for 2 hours before I can report. Because that's when it was last seen. I told what the employee said that morning, and it told me I was 2 hours early for reporting. And so I had to hang up and call back and to report him missing. And because at that point, looking at 6 hours, but then nobody heard from Daniel over 6 hours. That's well out of character, and wanting to make sure that they got the ball rolling, law enforcement. So they finally took that call, like I said, the guys, and they end up getting Tempe, from what I understand. I don't know if it's that same night, but or the next day, to do this little welfare check, which the welfare check was actually them not going into the apartment like I was wanting them to, because I wanted them to go inside. My thinking was if something happened to my son, some form of foul play, they stole his vehicle, because my daughter said the doors were locked, and wanted to make sure he's not in there hurt or something happened, and this person stole his vehicle or something, So that's my thinking at the time, not being there to see what's really going on. But like I said, they send the law enforcement out there. They called Tempe. Tempe went out and did what I call a drive-by. They drove in the parking area. What I was heard, they also actually got the vehicle, walked up to his apartment, knocked on the door, reported the same thing my daughter said. You can see the living room through the blinds, and that was it. That's the welfare check. We didn't make contact. That type deal. So nevertheless, I got a little more information that says that I then I talked to Buckeye Police Department. It was Officer Cruz at the time. He's a really nice guy. He kept in contact with me. We constantly going back and forth with each other, giving each other all the information we can give back and forth. At the time, he alerted me that him and another officer will be riding in the area up in Sun Valley Parkway. I didn't know that it was actually in the desert, but he said that's when I first heard the word Sun Valley Parkway. They'll be riding up and down the road. They say it's a very long road, and they will ride up and down to see if he's in that area, to see if he's stuck on the side of the road or something. And so, of course, that made me feel a lot better in some aspects. And so the next thing would happen. I got the information that he's actually missing inside the desert. So I requested for Officer Cruz to go in the desert to look for my son. Matter of fact, I needed a helicopter out there, from what was described to me by his employer. And of course, they declined. Also, Cruz declined it because he said they don't fly helicopters at night. That sounded crazy to me, because I'm a military veteran, and we in Afghanistan ride on helicopters where we don't even use lights. We use infrared light, but something totally different. But you don't, you can fly at night, to make a long story. So I wasn't really buying that story at all. But I don't know the policies of police department, so you had to accept what he said. But he said he would make sure that they would make sure that this flight happened the next morning. So that eased me. Stayed up all night, waited to the next morning. I think also Haley was his name, came in to take over that shift. Had some discussion about this flight. And of course, you guys, like I said, you guys, I'm not going to go into too much details because things change. I'm a person that keep receipts. Saying sometimes you go back over receipts and you can find some initial things that happen that's very contradictory what Buckeye Police Department, for instance, put in their report. I have recordings of myself talking with law enforcement, for instance, that would contradict them saying they had sent the helicopter out and things like that. But the thing is, at the story, you guys, is that like I said, the officer at the time said, hey, yeah, we're gonna get it out there. The next morning, yeah, we're gonna get it out there, and get a helicopter. Very relieved, you guys. And at the time, I didn't actually really moved yet from South Carolina. But when they called me back an hour or so later, and the officer told me, hey, that he says it's not me. He says my higher ups. I guess he kind of made sure I didn't blame him personally, but his higher ups canceled that Phoenix Firebird helicopter. They canceled it, saying that he's a grown man. They canceled it and they unauthorized it. That's what the word was used to those effects, and said that it was unauthorized, and because Dan's a grown man, if he want to disappear on his own, he can. And I know that language. Of course, you saying, hey, he wanted to disappear on his own, like you telling me that Daniel called them and said, hey, I want to be gone on my own or something. Because that can't just law enforcement cannot make that kind of assumption. But I just knew that from other conversation I had with officers as well. When I asked him, are they going to go look for my son? And he said, well, we got him in the NCIC database, and then he went through the streams of explaining that to me. That what they have for Daniel, as in the extent of looking for Daniel was at the time, is put him in that database, and if he's anywhere in the country, law enforcement also pick up his tags on his vehicle. They will pull him over and say, "Hey, your family looking for you." That type deal, and that's a stint that law enforcement did, and that would cause me to, I would say, not think rationally. All I could see in my eyes that my son was out there in that desert somewhere stuck, and law enforcement was going to help him, no matter what I was saying on that phone call. And so I had to act. I had to jump in my. I'm just so I'm a person of faith, and my faith, you guys, I push action into my faith. And so, of course, hey, look, this is my son. I'm had to go do it myself. I understood that language from law enforcement. They weren't going to do anything. So of course, logically, a person say, "Hey, you would jump on an airplane and start heading out west." I jumped in my car, just grabbed what I could in my hands, pretty much, and dumped it in my car and drove. Started heading west to go save my son. But in that trip, you guys, have been working with law enforcement. Despite of that, working with law enforcement, getting all the information I can, calling his company. I mean, just networking all the way. Drive. I used to drive trucks, so trust me, guys, I can get cross country very quick. Say I can get cross country really quick, and it make things happen that way. I'm just been doing truck driving for so many years. But you know what? Made it to almost near Phoenix. I got a phone call from my auntie who lives in Pennsylvania. She was very excited, very excited. Hey, look, David, this, she called them, and I don't know what else she said to them. They said they was gonna put that Phoenix Firebird helicopter in the air. She was very excited about it. I'm very happy about that. So I'm relieved because I couldn't get the Phoenix fast enough. If you guys know how that is, you got your foot on the pedal, but you're gonna go so fast, that type deal, and you definitely want to get there, but at the same time, the distance is there, so it's not just an easy catwalk down the street, of course. And once I made it to Phoenix, you guys, I was heard that this helicopter supposed to be in there. I believed it. To make a long story, of course, they came back with a report. They didn't find anything. They say they searched that area. They gave me a grid saying they searched the area from that well site almost 20 miles out. They searched it heavily. They claim it, and even the area where allegedly the vehicle would have been there at the time in a month. Saying that we actually in a month's time they searched that area as well in their whole scheme of things with this helicopter. So long story with that, you guys. My daughter and I, when it got in town, she and I would try to do our due diligence. We were actually was happening with law enforcement again, giving everything we can. At the same time, trying to help ourselves. That's her brother, my son. We want to go see, do some due diligence, despite of the fact that we knew that Daniel do not do certain things. He doesn't, just disappear and without saying anything to his family member, his loved ones. He would actually let us know what's going on. But at the same time, you guys, you still have to do the due diligence. You still have to say, hey, what if things change? From time to time, as being human, things is possibly change. So, of course, my daughter and I we started riding around Phoenix, going to the airport, say, hey, the only thing you can do is either drive out of the state or fly out of the state. So we went to the airport and started, not just some of the private lots as well. So I spent a lot of little money there trying to get in and out to go. At certain points, you got to come back out of the airport and then come back in again and things like that. So, trying to make sure we looked at every parking space, because she knows exactly what this vehicle looked like. I didn't at the time, never saw it before other than the picture that Daniel gave me. But we're looking for every Jeep Renegade that we could find, and with that matching those colors of Daniel's vehicle. And of course, we didn't find that. We didn't find it anywhere. I mean, when I say we searched every spot, we actually did. It took a lot. Took, I think, almost a day, or a little over a day, almost. And but we actually able to cover all the area, the private lots as well. Went to the Red Cross. I'm a military guy. When things go wrong, we always hit the Red Cross up. Also went to seek the NAACP for help. Again, you guys, the go fast forward, try to get all the information that we can. Law enforcement, try to work. My whole plan at the time was to work with law enforcement. Hey, look, I've got more details, and I want to make sure they're out there actively looking. At the time, that's what you do. You rely on law enforcement. I didn't thinking outside of that until things start becoming obvious. Because at the time, when you're a family member having a missing loved one, you're focused on that, finding your loved one. You're not realizing when doing things not being handled a certain way that should be handled. You're not noticing that things they she could have done, they haven't done. You don't notice those details at the beginning because you're just in a wreck mentally. First thing we're asking for when we got into the interrogation room, law enforcement actually put us in the interrogation room. They brought us in the back door and put my daughter and I into the interrogation room, and questioned us about Daniel's state of mind and things like that. So we had to sit there for like 30 minutes trying to figure out anything that sounds suspicious about Daniel. And I mean, he got us up into him and say, "Hey, maybe that's what it is. Maybe this what it is." So you kind of get to that little mode but we didn't at the time. I didn't know why law enforcement was pushing that issue. But they were getting us to, I guess, talk about those type things. Anything we could think of. My daughter came up with a story of him staring off, for instance, at a wall that happened like a week or so before he went missing. It went out like a day before or anything like that, or something weird, but it wasn't in a time frame that would say it goes along with his disappearance. But the thing is, you guys, did the interrogation room to talk with law enforcement. At the same time, like I said, doing our due diligence. At the same time, asking questions. And one of the questions in that interrogation room was cell phone pings. We needed cell phone pings. They couldn't provide that. Law enforcement said, "Hey, we have to have a warrant for that. We have to have a warrant for that." If we go to any judge, he will not give us a warrant because it's not a criminal case. It had to be a criminal case. That's what I heard from them. The second thing was, okay, well, let me see some footage. I know you guys have cameras on the side of the streets. Every major road has some type of form of camera. They say they look and there's none existing. The cameras will always stay on. They can't get with the highway department and all this kind of stuff they're talking. So okay, we find out that my son had a Uconnect, something like an OnStar in his car. We asked for that next, and then they came with some excuse about that to say, "Hey, it wasn't here to have no subscription." They didn't. Well, at first they told us they would be able to get information from that, and they came back and told us no, they couldn't get it. Said it was some zero grids on it, and the Uconnect said that only happened if somebody disconnects the battery or damaged the device. So we was wondering why was it damaged or the battery removed. But they later came and said, oh, they went to or start their own account or something on it and see if they could pull something off of it or whatever the case may be, ignoring those first initial facts they were saying about the battery being disconnected. But the other thing, you guys, like I said, those things when we start looking at that, we start getting frustrated as a family because everything that seemed like we were asking for to find Daniel, law enforcement, and where I took it was conveniently blocking it. It was blocking, being blocked, block, block, every little step of the way, block, block, block. Even my attempt to go into the desert look for my own son. Law enforcement forbade me to go in the gate. They had this gate on Sun Valley Parkway and told me, "Hey, look, you can't, don't go into a vehicle. You're gonna go up and down these hills. You're gonna get your vehicle stuck on this and that, blah blah blah." But of course, being a father I am, I don't care about a vehicle. I got to go save my son. But I did take those words only because I am military. I've been in Afghanistan. I know things about desert. I just didn't know the desert in Arizona, the different terrain. You can look at it from the roadside and see the difference in the terrain. And okay, but I was out there almost every day with my binoculars, trying to see what I could see from the road. I had very high powered binoculars, and I wanted to make sure I was just looking from the roadway, see if I could see Dane's vehicle spotted somewhere, and then go in and go to that specific place. But it never happened. It never happened. Never was able to see anything. And then the only thing that was keeping me from my son was building up was that desert. Every time I go there, it was eating me up, you guys. That The only thing that was keeping me from Daniel is the desert itself. So I spent many nights, you guys. I didn't sleep at all. I'd be lucky if I got 1, 2 hours sleep. It's a combination of several things I had to do. I had to make sure Daniel's name was out in the public. I've been pushing for news coverage. I've been pushing things on no social media. Of course, I've been working my website, pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. That was the first thing I did. And then I was seeking help with the community. I was reaching out to community organizers, to you name it, to find anybody that could help me in with searching for my son. That's where that birth of the search came from, because I could not see Daniel out there. The only thing that was keeping me from Daniel was the actual desert itself. And I was getting there. So, like I said, I've been doing a lot of research. I learned a lot about the prospect mines. I didn't even know why they called Sun Valley Parkway was the road to nowhere before they built the area called Surprise, and some of these other areas, and why the landowners was fighting over this lands in the 80s and things like that. So I've been learning a lot about this desert, with the dangers, the animal, the wildlife, the everything, you guys. And from that point, I needed people. So, like I said, I've been reaching out to the communities, and I found one person who actually lived in Buckeye, and we started searchfordaniel.org, and then the search began. The search began for Daniel to get me in that desert. So the desert search, lasted all the way until it was a rescue mission at first, because within that first month of Daniel being missing, and it was a rescue mission, and here it is, 118 degrees it gets out there. And my mind said, hey, he's trapped in some mine somewhere, had these vertical mines that go straight down into the earth. And a lot of times people can drive into them, things like that. So wanted to make sure that didn't happen. So we're diligently searching. I'm sure that we even searched the area where this vehicle is supposed to end up showing up. And because we were doing a lot of, at the time, we called it hasty searches, where I was seeing volunteers out to do hiking, because there's a lot of people in Arizona that likes to hike. That's one of the favorite pastimes, and that was a good way to get people out in that area to, just look around it, because it wasn't so organized the way it eventually became. But like I said, we covered a lot during that time. But then the vehicle showed up. That changed the whole way we did things out there in the desert. That vehicle showed up almost 30 days after Daniel went missing. I was preparing for the search that weekend, and I got a call from the Buckeye Police Department on July the 20th. They told me that the vehicle showed up on July the 19th. By a rancher found it. They gave me some little details on the phone. I didn't care about the video going on about the vehicle. I said, hey, what about my son? Well, we didn't find your son, and he said he wanted to show me, he wanted to update me at the department what was going on. But I was asking him, I said, okay, well, the vehicle showed up yesterday. Why you guys didn't call me? Because I need to be out there. I need to see what's going on. I've been out for weeks. I'm out here in this desert, searching for my son with these volunteers out here. Why you not calling me? They told me they didn't want to disturb my sleep, and like I was sleeping or something. Like I told you guys, I'd be lucky if I did get sleep. But that offended me. Made it to that department thinking they was going to take me to the area where this vehicle was found. Got in the parking lot. He told me to call him when I get in the parking lot. Got there, and he said he was coming out the door. He met me in the parking lot. He had a folder. He threw it on top of the hood of his truck, and he started explaining to me about the situation with Daniel. He told me, of course, you guys, he put out two maps and one picture, and he's giving me orientations of where this vehicle was found. Again, in my mind, I think I'm still gonna go to this crime scene or wherever this vehicle was at. And it didn't happen. He showed me the pictures, and he started explaining to me about what the pictures show. Hey, the vehicle was rolling, flipped, and twisted, and landed on the side. Um, the good news is that what he says, that Daniel had the seatbelt on, because you know how the seatbelts locks when an accident happened. But they believe he had a severe brain injury. He kicked his way out of the sunroof, and that's why he pointed on the picture and say, "Hey, this is why his glass is on the ground." And when he got outside of the vehicle, you have a brain injury. Brain injury make you feel like you're hot and make you shred your clothes off your body, and that's why his clothes were found 3 feet away from the vehicle in a pile. And then he asked me, "Say, do your son wear boxes of briefs?" I'm like, "How would I know that? He's a grown man. Why would I know what my son wear?" But he said, well, everything on his body was 3 feet away from the vehicle, lying in the pile. He most likely, because he thought it was hot, he went up on a tree somewhere and probably succumbed to his injuries. At the same time, double talking, succumbed to his injuries, and a wild animal came and got him. So of course, hearing something like that, it was devastating to me. I couldn't even hardly function from that point, even hearing law enforcement say things like that. But he told me asked me, did I want to go see the vehicle? I agreed to do so. He had me to follow him. I thought we was going to the scene again. Made it about a mile or so down the road. He took me to a complex where they keep, I guess, a storage place where they keep uh, evidence and vehicles or whatever torn. There's a whole bunch of torn vehicles out there, and took me in before. He told me to park in the front of the building. He gonna let me in through the side. I came through the side of the building, had a gate. They let me in, and before we could hit the corner where the vehicles will be at, he stopped me and gave me the story about some woman. He said, "I've seen the stories like this before." Woman, that family thought some woman, I think it was a mother or or to the effects of mother or something, and that they thought she was missing. Turned out she decided to become a nun. Not necessarily saying that about Daniel, but what if he probably just wanted to be away from you guys, joined a monastery, and became a monk, is what he told me. So of course, I looked at him when he said it, but my mind was so devastated with what I'm going to see when in terms of this vehicle from those pictures. I still had my mind there, so I didn't really fully process that, but it gave me pause why he would say that to me, because my son would not join a monastery, become a monk. For one thing. The other part is we got to this compound, this area where they had the vehicles. He had to open up this gate. Open up this. He had some kind of keypad. He had to push in some numbers or whatever he did, and the gate opened up automatically. And I mean, this whole row of these vehicles. And he pointed out, said, "That's your son's vehicle over there." And when I saw it, you guys, I tell you guys, that's probably the worst thing I can imagine outside of what I've seen even in war. This is some things that happened with my son. When I saw that vehicle, all I saw was my son got hurt or killed in his vehicle or something, I just couldn't move. I froze up. Make a long story, I froze up, and Detective Biffin kept saying, hey, go on over there and look in the vehicle. I didn't move. I didn't move because I just couldn't move. I was stuck. So he started walking, and we started walking. I was able to move with him. We got about 3 feet away from the vehicle, and then he said, "Yeah, go ahead and look and lift that airbag." The airbag's kind of hanging out the driver's window. Hey, lift the airbag up and look inside. I still couldn't move. He lifted up, and he lifted up and I guess trying to point out some things in the vehicle. And then he opened the back door. That's when I noticed an NYPD bag sitting on the back seat. I was like, "What is that?" And he grabbed it. He said, "I don't know what it is." And he just took it and dumped all the contents out of it. I can't remember what was in it, but he dumped it all in the contents out. And I noticed some little baggies, a bunch of baggies on the floor, you guys, with like dirt or mud or something in it. And I didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was at the time. And then he just kept insisting on me looking in the vehicle. I told him I had enough. Time for me to get out of here. This is too much for me. I need to get out of here. It is you got to get this vehicle out here today, because if you don't, we're gonna have it towed away, and you have to pay storage fees. That's the thing he gave me right out there, telling, "Hey, look, man, I had to get out of here. I had to get out of here. It's too much for me mentally." That was his response. So I told him, I had to think. I'm like, "Look here," I said, "I'm not even from Phoenix. I'm not from Arizona. I don't know who my son's creditors are. I'm gonna tell you something, you guys. You got to listen to this part, because it would have made a difference from you guys ever hearing about Daniel Robinson or not. And the reasons why I say that, because if I would have followed what law enforcement asked me to do at the time, you wouldn't have heard of a Daniel Robinson case. Because what happened is he's telling me I need to get this thing out of there. I asked him, I had to beg a grown man. That's what I felt like, to keep it for 3 days, so I can go give me enough time to find out about his creditors, where I need to send it, that type deal, right? And he agreed. End up calling back that evening, because they said it's supposed to be some kind of rain or something. I want to make sure, because Phoenix, they don't rain in Arizona like that. But I called them back and asked them, can they put a tarp on? I mean, I was going to come up and put a tarp on the vehicle. They said they would do it for me. But the blessing part was, you guys, I'm saying this is the key point. The blessing part was that, before this vehicle showed up, I was talking to a chief. I met him through acquaintance, from a person who came out to my first desert searches. She was able to get me in contact with someone. That person got me in contact with one of the chiefs. I'm not going to actually name it right now, but that chief, he and I used to eat lunch together, talking about my son's case, and tried to get some things going on around in Arizona to get some help. And he was actually new chief hall at the time, and he was actually helped me get set up a meeting. I didn't know when this date was going to be, but it's so ironically that this date came up on the 22nd. Vehicle showed up on the 19th. It showed had me out there on the 20th, and on the 22nd I was back in Buckeye to do this meeting. I took Mr. Larnell Farmer with me at the time. He was part of the NAACP to be an observer and a listener. Also recorded this meeting with the law enforcement, Chief Hall, and his whole crew. And that's when I learned all the stuff, you guys. That's when I learned about because I had a trove of questions. It was intimidating, guys. I'm telling you, they had that room so intimidating. When I say intimidating, they have a whole big round table, nothing but law enforcement. All of them have guns on their hips, but us, and just talking to Chief Hall, trying to get answers. Some of the things that stood out to me with Chief Hall was that he kept using plurals. He liked to use plurals a whole lot. We have a lot of these pictures, plurals. And I started saying, okay, what pictures? Your guys gave me one picture that I even put out to the public because I was pushing for media coverage with with the local news channels. So I pushed that out there in the media, social media, and as well as trying to push that out to the local news media at the time. And the thing was he saying it's plurals. So he said, okay, well, I give you these pictures. We have a picture. We have pictures we had the helicopters out there and the drone and the stuff he was saying, all these pictures they took. So I wanted to see that. He promised it to me. He's gonna give me all the pictures they got. Okay, good. Also, he promised that he was going to give me the police report, the final police report. He called it the final police report at the time. He said once Detective Biffin finished his writing it up and finalize it, he's going to give me a copy, which they gave me a partial of that day, and then they're going to give me the full one along with these pictures and everything else on a flash drive. But in that meeting, I was asking a lot of questions, you guys, about my son's case. Was that forensics done? Knowing already that it wasn't, because I talked to Detective Biffin on I recorded myself as well again, talking to Detective Biffin, and he explained to me why he didn't feel the need to do any forensics on that scene. Right? He didn't see it a need. It was no need for him in his eyes to even do a forensics on that scene. But I asked anyway, you guys, because one thing was apparent to me, so that when I was asking the questions like, how you guys know, for instance, that Daniel was driving this vehicle, and the answer that the detective sergeant, I guess his name was Hanneman or something or other, he said to me, "Well, it's Daniel's vehicle. Of course, he was driving." And that was ludicrous to me. Like, like that's crazy to me because, um, you know, um, just because somebody owns a vehicle don't mean they was actually driving it, right? So that kind of little pissed me off a little bit, just the sarcasm that came out his mouth. And so I was like, well, that don't explain that to me. How we know you guys didn't do any forensics on the scene, and why you didn't do any forensics. The answer to that was because they didn't see with their eyes. They didn't see any blood in the vehicle. Because I asked things like, they got luminol or whatever called stuff, some kind of something that with lighting. I think that's kind of infrared light or something or other. They'll see blood being wiped up and all this kind of stuff, you guys. Because they saying all this twisting and rolling and this and that. I'm thinking like, okay, so you saying he escaped all injury except for a brain injury. I want to back up a little bit too, because what made me get paused with this brain injury part when Detective Biffin was explaining that to me, I had a brain injury from my time at war in Afghanistan. I never shredded my clothes off. I never did anything like that, So I didn't buy that story. I didn't buy it at all. It don't make you feel hot and all this crazy stuff he was talking. So of course, you guys, all that gave me pause, and that's when I started seeing the Buckeye Police more and more of who they are and what they would do, the stints. I started researching them as well later on, but to continue on by this meeting, asked all those questions. I got really, really angry, got kind of heated in a way on my part because of the plurals and the sarcasm and the non forensics that was done. So I demanded that they do some forensics. I didn't know what to ask for, and I'm not a detective. So I asked for fingerprint. I want to know if somebody else was driving my son's vehicle. I want to know somebody was in this vehicle. I need fingerprint, and that's what I asked for. They said they would hold it for a few more days for me and do it. They agreed to that. I agreed to let them hold it because they already released it to me, but they said they'll hold it for me a little longer and keep it in the compound and go ahead and perform this fingerprinting, what I asked for. But it turns out, you guys see in the report, they say they did a swabbing of the steel wheel, the shifter, and the door handle, right, on the driver's side, and no airbag testing, no driver side testing, no testing of hair fibers or anything in terms of doing some type of real detective work when it comes to finding the vehicle in that situation. Because again, I'm gonna put out the overlay of that as well, you guys. My view on this: if there was a law enforcement vehicle, again, I say this often, lying on the side. It could have been, and the crazy part about it, this happened on July. Let's say it happened on June the 23rd, that day. You know what had happened that day. It'd been the same as that day, not no day, no 30 days later or this and that. They would have been searching for this officer, and they found this vehicle lying on the side like that. Especially, let's say it took almost 30 days later. They found on the side in a ravine, vehicle lying on the side, the officer clothes lying on a pile, his uniform, everything's there, and he's missing. They would not give the family the same story they gave me. They wouldn't treat this case the same way. There would have been crime scene tape all over. Let's say it was Chief Hall's child or one of these guys' children. They would have treated this, like I said, like it's one of their own. They had all kind of law enforcement agencies in it. They would have called the crime scene without even facts first. They would have put out in the media. I think people even from Columbia, South Carolina, I think the sheriff here and everybody else, law enforcement, would send some officers from all across the country to look for this one officer or his kid. And that's the same thing I was looking for from law enforcement when Daniel, when that vehicle showed up, especially as well, when he went missing. I want to see that urgency and that treatment that I know that law enforcement is capable of when it's their own. They would find a way to make things happen. I remember Sarah Seidner from CNN came out there in the desert with me, and she was asking Chief Hall, the family's asking this is criminal case, and he said I can't make up evidence. Right, this is what Chief Hall was saying. It was all the evidence. The evidence was there. They just didn't want to look for it. They didn't want to find it because the whole opportunity at the time, you guys, when I started looking at the details and listening at that meeting, and then playing some things in the back of my head was going on. When they were telling me this meeting, they said, well, the vehicle was out there for 30 days, almost 30 days, because we found a hard hat with rainwater in it. That was the initial thing. They was all talking about this rainwater inside the hard hat. But to make a long story, you guys, when I was in that meeting, I got out. Um, and before I ended, I got all the questions I wanted. I told him, hey, if we got some follow-up questions, I'm still gonna wait on the stuff from Chief Hall at the time, the flash drive with all this information that I do have. They did give me that stuff. They gave me a final report. That's what I'm saying. You guys see all these reports. I'm up to, and I can be honest with you guys, I probably have like I'd say about 3 or 4 different reports from the Buckeye Police Department. They build it up as the story, and I stayed in Arizona. But I didn't stay, and I'm telling you, this was the marker. Like I said, you guys, I had that meeting, and after that meeting, this is where the kicker in. I'm saying, you guys, you would never have heard of Daniel Robinson nationally. You would have heard about it if you was in Buckeye and Phoenix, and you guys was coming out to the desert searches. You would have heard about that, and that's would have been the stint of it. But I kept pushing really hard, you guys, pushing to get Daniel's story out there on at nighttime. I was spending hours just thanking each and every last one of you that I can. I mean, I used to be almost, my eyes about to fall out my head, trying to make sure I say thank you to everyone who's been doing anything to help me out there, help me try to get awareness out, whatever the case may be. And at the same time, I was working the celebrities. I have my little way, a method of getting to them as well. I learned that, and also, like I said, trying to put the search, make sure I keep the search going for Daniel. But I was sitting in that on that meeting, like I said, about to walk out of that room. Me and Mr. Farmer say our later, and then Detective Biffy came up to me, asked me where I parked. I told him where I parked. He said, well, stay right there. I'll be out there. He came up with the same pickup truck. He pulled behind me and went in this pickup truck and pulled out these bags, evidence bags, you guys, a bunch of evidence bags. It asked me to pop my trunk. I popped my trunk and put all these bags in my trunk. right? I didn't know what they were. He said, "Hey, this is all the stuff that we got from the scene, and we're giving it to you." I didn't know what to do with it. I went back to my hotel room, started puzzling, pondering everything I heard in that meeting. And it made me angry, you guys. It made me angry. I need a second opinion. I would not buy anything because the way that they gave me, that was it. They gave me his clothing, everything was in that bag, whatever. They gave me this stuff saying, "Hey, go back to South Carolina. There's nothing else to see here. We don't have any." Well, they told me they had no more leads to follow. It ain't nothing else, and they told me that directly. No leads to follow. They even put it on their social media platform, but they deleted that off. But I got a copy. Um, they don't have no leads, more leads to follow. So that's saying to me, Miss Robinson, go back to you, back to South Carolina. We'll call you. Don't call us. We'll call you. Type deal. It made me angry, guys. I went in my hotel room, like I said, ponder these things off. No, I look at the whole details of what been happening from day one. When it turns to law enforcement, I really saw the pattern that they was pulling onto this mental crisis that my son don't have. They even almost try to convince family members of having some type of Daniel having some type of mental crisis and things like that. So just as a narrative that they try to hold on to the way I looked at it to say Daniel off himself somehow or something, he caused his own pain or whatever the case may be. Instead of him being the victim, they made him the aggressor in a sense. Even when it comes to the young lady, they brought a young lady into the case. I started listening. I think about all of the stuff that was coming up, you guys, bringing her into the case and the story about the young lady sensationalizing this case and talking about make him seem like he was the criminal. He's stalking her and that kind of thing. A brilliant scientist. Dan's a scientist, a young man, don't have so much as a speeding ticket. But that's what they're trying to give him, that narrative, trying to give him that view. And I remember being in that hotel when a reporter came up to me, and she came from the Buckeye Police Department when they had a copy. She got a copy of the police report, and she had it in her hand, and there was a section in there highlighted in yellow, and she's asking about the young lady, and it was from that section. And I thought, I said, okay, why you mark it out? She said, no, they marked it out. Law enforcement marked it out. They wanted that in the public. They wanted that in the news coverage about this young lady sensationalizing Daniel's case. Throw it off. Hey, don't look over here at these facts. I want you guys to look at this. And that's that's kind of things that caused me to have the separation with law enforcement from Buckeye Police Department. It started making me angry, you guys, because I'm a smart guy and I'm not gonna fall for the okie doke, right? So not when it comes to my son, especially. So, like I said, I got my investigator, Mr. McGrath. You guys probably seen him many times. Got him. He came to me. I'll be honest with you. He came to me and he started off saying, he want to work for pro bono. At the time, that is a blessing. I'm a man of faith, and when God send you a blessing, you say thank you, right? I mean, I was suspicious, you guys. Nobody do anything for free, right? That's how he started off. It was for free at the end, you guys. I paid him a lot of money. But you started off for free. And I did learn. I tell families, you guys probably remember this Q&A I used to have, and I'm kind of throwing this in because I'm kind of jumping at a little bit because that really was a touchy thing for me. When somebody come to you, and this for families, listen to me right now. I'm gonna have to say this really quick. Somebody come to you and they say they want to do something pro bono. Get in the writing. I learned this from my attorney. Get in the writing and make sure you have just like a contract. Now, I'm to be honest with you guys, like I tell families all the time, I understand. Trust me, I've been there. Like I told you guys, you don't pay attention to everything because you're emotional. People say, Mr. Robinson, how strong you are and this and that. No, you would have seen me broken down if I was emotional. But what I'm saying is I have emotions. And even with those emotions, and much as I look like I'm straight, I am straight because I make sure that I'm a soldier and that's what I do. We've trained to do things. However, I miss some things too, right? And one of the things is when you trust people, you have to trust people and they come to you and say, hey, look, I'm doing this pro bono. I'm gonna help you out. And being a spiritual man that I am, I believe in God. I believe in miracles. I believe in help. I believe in all of the stuff. And when things present itself a certain way, you do ask yourself a little bit. You have the suspicion there, but then you have to say to yourself, thank you, God. Thank you for this blessing that helps out a whole lot. So I accepted this pro bono thing at the beginning, you guys. But I did ask him the question why, what made me suspicious at the beginning. I said, why would you come to me? Why you want to do this for free? Nobody do this for free. He was out in the desert. I rented out this big old backhoe, right? It's a bit tractor. So those who know what a backhoe is, I rent out this backhoe for Mr. McGrath and his team. They was out there digging in the desert, saying they're finding little spots that look loose dirt or whatever the case may be. And I was sitting out there. I met him. I just went out there to see what they were doing because I'm paying a lot of money for this backhoe, right? And he was out there digging and went up to him and I said, that's when it hit me. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? So I'm saying this for a reason, guys, for those families. Why are you doing this for free? Because I'm really suspicious kind of person, you know. He said, because it's like he was fishing for something, like pulling straws. He said, because you're a veteran. And then I said to myself, like, but I ain't never told you I was a veteran, you know. I don't go out and say, hey, everybody, I'm a veteran, you know. It wasn't that way. And so that they gave me a little suspicious at the beginning, at the time, but you know, but me and him became friends. To make a long story, you guys, and he did a really good job with the vehicle, right? Because when I went to him, like I said, when he first showed up, before all of this, he showed up, you guys. But the reason I'm backing up and I mentioned all of that is because it's for the families, for those who have missing loved ones. You gonna have all kind of couldn't believe how many PIs that they still come to me to this date. How many PIs run up to me and say, hey, they want to do something for you. I'll be honest with you, I had some bad situations. I'm not gonna say which and where. It made me very even more cautious when it comes to PIs and people who say they want to do certain things. You have to be very careful. And I'm telling you, families, be very careful. Do your homework with that. Everybody that's going to come to you and constantly say they want to do things for free, it is not for free. Now, I can tell you $21,000 is not free. So the thing is, you guys, what I'm saying is to Mr. McGrath, I've hired him on, you guys, and he came out to my hotel. Came out to my hotel. I gave him everything. The first thing he did, he's a cop. He's ex-cop, so he knows his job. He knows his craft. The first thing he did, he grabbed the stuff and he stopped. He didn't even take it out the hotel. He stopped and he said, "You know what, Mr. Robinson, look here." He showed me, just educated me. I gave him the badge exactly how Detective Biffin gave me. I took it. I took it inside my hotel room because I couldn't leave it in the trunk of the car. And he showed me this badge. He said, "Look," he said, "these bags are marked for safekeeping." And I'm like, "What you mean?" He showed me the tags on it. You got these boxes on it. You got safekeeping. You got evidence, and you got something. I forgot what it was. And he said, "You see right here, all these bags are marked for safekeeping. Safekeeping law enforcement mean that it's not evidence, it's not being forensically done, or nothing been done to it. They just collect things from the scene and give it to the family, and that's it. Hey, the narrative story, I took it as Detective Biffin believed that Daniel had a severe brain injury. He shredded all his clothes off his body. He's walking around butt naked or got killed by an animal, whatever case may be. But he's out there butt naked in the desert, 118 degrees. And they feel, after all of that, with a heavy brain and all the stuff, that he's going to come back and get his things. Here, family, here's his things. Y'all go back to South Carolina. We're done with it. Right? And that angered me, you guys. You guys would be angry about that too. Because again, this would not have happened if it was law enforcement. It would not happen if it was Chief Hall's children, his daughters, his wife, or something, anybody. That would not have happened. And no law enforcement agency in this world could tell me that would have happened. The same as that way that happened with my son. So what I'm saying is, guys, these are the kind of disparities that's out there and the way things are done, and that we have to fight against. And they're going to go to another point I'll be making tonight. But the thing is, you guys, I had to accept that at the time, get my detective. He, like I said, you guys knew the job that Mr. McGrath did. He's an accident reconstructionist. He went out there to the scene, not only to the scene. You guys already had this vehicle, getting this vehicle out. The first thing he did is went up there to pick the vehicle up. They already gave it over to me. And what stopped them from having them? This is crazy, you guys. They did the forensics. They say they did the little fingerprinting for me and all the stuff, whatever. Right? I was going up there, and it's right at the same time they completed it. They said, "Send Mr. McGrath to go pick this vehicle up." He got up there and he called me. He called me from a hotel room. He called me because the Buckeye Police Department. This is the story. First of all, they told him that they was investigating. Right, the investigation was over. They told him that directly. The other thing is that's the reason why they gave him the black box data. They didn't read it. They just pulled the information and handed it over to him. Right. They had him and his crew get ready to take this vehicle out of there. And then what made them stop, they gave him hard times when they one of, I guess, the cop was asking him what he was going to do with the vehicle. He said, "Hey, I'm getting the infotainment system pulled out of here. I'm having sent to California for analysis to find out where this vehicle was." This, that, blah, blah. When they heard that, it changed his narrative. But one thing happened is because they gave the vehicle to me already, they couldn't keep it. It's my possession then. It was not Daniel's anymore. It's my possession, right? So legally. So what they did is I'm sure they went to their city attorney and they found that they couldn't hold that vehicle, right? They would not give it to him. Once he said that, they would not give him the vehicle. He called me and they had me drive all the way for 40 something miles up there, 40 minutes away from Phoenix to go up there to sign a piece of paper to say, I'm taking this vehicle out of here, right? So that's how the vehicle got where it's at, located right now. All this was some real heavy, phony stuff that was going on at the time. So Mr. McGrath was able to do his job. He was able to get this infotainment system done. He was able to examine the vehicle. Me and he and I was out into the crime scene. And I want to back up real quick, you guys. One of those little tidbits I want to give those who don't know about Daniel's case as well. Um, on the weekend after the vehicle showed up on July 19th, before I think it was before was it after the meeting? And that after the meeting, also I had a search. I didn't stop my search when that vehicle showed up. That just made me amplify my search even more, you guys. That expanded my search because what happened, I didn't know about 11 additional miles at that time. It wasn't examined to that point yet. But what I had is the area where this vehicle was found. And I didn't know that. I didn't know where it was at. Nobody tell me to that day. Mr. McGrath didn't know at the time. Law enforcement did not tell me where this vehicle was at. They had the map and only gave me a picture, but they kept the maps. So I don't know where the vehicle was at, right? And to make a long story, that one of the guys that I was working with out there in the desert, I'm not gonna give you some details about that, but some things that happened with that as well. But he was able, I'm sure he had some real close ties with the Buckeye Police Department. To make a long story, I didn't know it at the time. He was one of my coordinators that I had for my searches, and he called me when I was up to search to meet the volunteers, and he said, "Hey, look, Mr. Robinson, I got a new place that we can meet at because we always plan. He and I would we have our Zoom meetings every week to discuss where we're going to search, and then we go through the map and that type of stuff. How we're going to keep volunteers safe and whatever, right? Get things we need, supplies, and so we already had it planned out. But after that meeting, but he called me, said, "Hey, I got an area that's bigger. The volunteers can get in. They can put their cars into. Of course, I'm gonna be all for that, right?" So, he told me how to get in there. I already know how to get into the desert, but he told me which way to go and all this stuff. So I get in this area, bringing the volunteers down in there, getting the cars parked and things. And he was late. He's never late, you guys, never late. But he was late this morning. And he came out and he had this white vehicle, almost like a police vehicle. I'm smiling because I know the details of that as well. But he had this white vehicle, looked just like a police vehicle, and he was driving. I said, "Oh, look, there you go, right there." But there was another vehicle riding behind him, looked just like his, right? So I'm like, "Whoa, there's two of them now." Okay, he made it to the point. My daughter's with me at the time. She used to come out to the searches, and we were just standing there, greet him, and whoever this other person was. When the other person, we stopped, spoke to him, the other person that got the vehicle was Chief Hall. Never, ever, ever seen him ever came out to any of my searches. Never, ever, ever even mentioned my searches. But he popped up. That's the first time I actually met him was in that meeting. But he popped up on that Saturday, and the first thing he did, he remembered my face, but he almost like he did like I wasn't part of this. He walked past me. "Hey, how you doing, Mr. Robinson?" And kept going because he yelled up, raised his hand up, and yelled out to everybody, say, "Hey, y'all want to know what this vehicle found? What this vehicle's found, right?" And my daughter and I looked at each other because we didn't know where this vehicle was found. And everybody, all my volunteers, all, "Yeah, yeah, and they was about to run to the car and said, "No, no, no, it's right over this hill." It's ironically where it was parked. I parked all these people. We literally was not far from it. It was like a few hundred feet away. It's ironic that my guy knew where this place was, and law enforcement did not show it to me. But the thing is, he said, "Follow me." The way I like to describe that is Chief Hall was almost looked like Moses leading the people through the Red Sea. That's how it was. It was like, come on with me. And we all walking behind him, see where this place is. My daughter's feeling offended. I was feeling offended because we have all these people walking with us, and we walk kind of behind, they way up ahead of us, and we've been have not had the courtesy from law enforcement to see where my son's vehicle was found. So we got into this area, and he was standing up on this hill like Moses again on this big area and looking down at us and said, "Yeah, the vehicle was found right down here." He pointed down this ravine. Um, you know, all this. I'll tell you guys, it's a mess. And I looked at because I remember this one picture. That one picture they gave me, I remember it in my head. I can't forget it. And so when he pointed down in the ravine, I looked down the ravine. He said, "Miss Robinson, right there is where I was here, and the vehicle's right there." So I looked down in the ravine, and it didn't look like the picture in my head because I remember the stump. It was a stump that was sitting there. I don't know what kind of stump, but I found out later it was supposed to be in a cactus that caught on fire from a lightning strike or something out of the other. But it's a stump. I didn't see that in that ravine that he pointed out. So I was just stunned, but he just kept going on. Then Chief Hall was going off about the cartels and say, yeah, how bad the cartels are out there in that area. And where he was saying it was like he was blaming the cartels for my son's disappearance. Maybe the cartels got him. He talking about how the cartels would land their planes on Sun Valley Parkway, and what he said they don't really land. He said they kind of fly down, the wheels kind of touch the ground, the drugs fall off, and they fly back up to Mexico or something out of the other, right? And so I'm like, why this man telling us all of this? In the meantime, you guys, the second thing that happened that was very strange to me was that my daughter tapped me on my shoulder and she said, "Dad, this guy wanted to speak to you, him and his wife." So I went to go see who this person was. And it turned out to be the rancher, the guy who found my son's vehicle. And he did exactly what he did. He said, I don't know why he talked like, really loud. He was really kind of grandstanding. I don't know why Chief Hall telling you that, the vehicle was found over there. It's found right here. He said, I know because I found it. And he pointed down and he was right. And the reason why I knew because I saw the stump and I saw the glass on the ground. Right. And he had it right. But anyway, the long story short, he told me also that he wanted to, share some pictures with me and things like that because he took pictures. So long story short, what puzzled me is that the way I took it when I got back to my hotel room that night from the whole search aspects of everything, more details to that, I took it that Chief Hall came there to sell me a story. Because the reason why I say that, you guys, because he never came back. He came there on a one time, conveniently. This vehicle just pops up. I'm out there in the desert for weeks, for over time before this vehicle showed up, and he just pops out of nowhere after this meeting, point down and tell me this vehicle was there, and where it was at, selling the story to the volunteers that was out there. And when I rancher said that to him, his face turned red. He immediately stopped talking when the rancher said that, and he walked past all of us while we're looking down into the ravine where the rancher was pointing us to. He went back over that hill I like the sunrise or whatever. It was in the morning, and he disappeared. I have never seen Chief Hall out there ever again, ever. No, and that was just his whole mission: to be out there to point this place out, say your son's vehicle is here, found here, and was gone. Right. So hindsight, I look back in them days and I say, you know what? To me, it was like I've been sold a story to that. Hey, I want you to believe the story. I want you to believe this vehicle is here for 30 days. I want you to believe that all the things you guys been hearing from law enforcement. I want you guys to believe this because this is what we're giving you to believe. And so, and I had that in my head that seems fishy to me. But then my investigator examined the information that came in from the infotainment system. He also read the black box data. You guys know about the 11 additional miles, the 46 initial cycles. The damage on the vehicle didn't match the terrain. The red transfer paint, there's nothing red in the desert. All this staging that he came out into national news to tell you guys how is a stage event. The rancher who testified for me and my investigator as well said he would go to court on it. Um, Said the vehicle wasn't there 2 days prior. He was in that ravine 2 days prior and wasn't there. So he was looking for his cattle that came through there. And so why those things are absent in that report, for instance, it goes along with the selling of the story to me, because everything we have evidence wise would say foul play. Law enforcement is refusing to do foul play. The second part of that is for their path of directions they had at the beginning. They changed that as well. Buckeye Police Department had his vehicle going down in a ravine for him, and I got some stuff I can show you guys from that. The initial coming out from west, right? They changed it from west to east. And the reason why, I think, because if it came from west, he had to come across federal land to get in that ravine. Because if you go in that ravine and you go out west, just a few hundred feet, I mean, you literally could take paces and walk left, walk out to west, and you'll be on federal land, Bureau of Land Management. That's why you guys hear me arguing to this day why FBI wasn't in my son's case, right? Why they weren't in my son's case when I was getting death threats and I put a report in with the FBI, and they still refused to get into Daniel's case. So long story short, that's where I'm at when it came to those things. But my investigator found all this information you guys have. Law enforcement wants you to believe that against science and reality. I know some people believe in conspiracy theories and all the stuff and superheroes and stuff like that, but I don't. I look at science and reality. And one thing for sure is no one can sit in a vehicle, lying on the side, and crank it up 4 to 6 times, right? I mean, you guys can try it if you want to, and we'll see how successful you are at that. And he kicked his way out of sunroof that didn't have a glass in it, like they thought. Jeep Renegades don't have that. They have glass in the sunroof. It's a panel. But according to them, with his superhuman strength that Daniel, I guess, possesses, he was able to kick his way out of sunroof that you have to unlock with a special key that is in the back of the vehicle. So in other words, guys, I can go over the details, and I'm trying not to. Is that I have been doing science-based investigation on my own. My investigator been doing his own investigation. I've been doing my own investigation. We come together in our meetings, but I also had a second investigator who does things with human trafficking, and they have technologies to do face recognition and things like that. So Daniel's out there. I don't tell everything to the public, but there are some things out there that I was doing as well. I even had a private investigator outside of Washington State who could practice in Arizona. Um, so it's a lot of moving parts, you guys. There's a lot of moving parts, and everything we have so far is contradicts everything law enforcement have. So why they're stuck on this narrative, that's where we're at. So the thing is, you guys, Daniels remained missing. I also had to find information out that law enforcement refusing to look into. My investigator, we finally got into Daniel's apartment during this time after his vehicle showed up. Um, and one of the things we found in the apartment, I say we because my investigator went in first. He said he wanted to do some forensics and things, his work, whatever he does, him and his investigators. And they went in there and they did what they did, but they reported back to me that they believe they showed me the pictures first. Detective Biffin been in there too. They've been in there. Buckeye been in there with what it was. We did a three-way call to the landlords because they wouldn't let the family in. But we thought maybe they'll let law enforcement in. They wish they ended up doing. They agreed. They still agreed to let us in as a family, but they let law enforcement in. But they had to have an escort from management. The management had to be with them to make sure law enforcement didn't touch anything from Daniel's apartment, didn't do anything, that type stuff. They only could go in there just to take pictures, but they did. I got pictures back from Detective Biffin. That was also, you guys, from that flash drive of Daniel's, what they took from Daniel's apartment. And one of the questions you asked me was Daniel a messy kid growing up? And I told him, I said, no, not really. So I mean, he's a boy. You're going to do a boy. You have to get on them about their rooms. And so he showed me the pictures. I seen the pictures. I went to parent mode. I'll be honest with you guys. I went to some type of parent mode. Forget that Daniel was 24 years old. And I'm like, I felt embarrassed, to make a long story. His room was a mess. The picture I saw, he said, oh, his room, but the rest of his apartment was good, but his room was a mess, right? And I said, well, it kind of consistent. One thing I do say when they were little is, if you're going to mess up anything, your room messy, don't mess up the living room. When people come in your house and the first thing you can see is your place, your living room, your kitchen. Keep your common areas clean, because keep your room clean too, but make sure you really keep those common areas clean. So if you got a messy room, nobody should be in your room anyway. But the thing is, it was messy. I felt a certain way about it, and that's how Detective Biffin left it. But my investigator, when he showed me his pictures of it, being in there as well, He saw something totally different. Pictures look pretty much the same. He just told me something different about it. I did the same thing. Oh man, that's embarrassing. But no, he said no. He pointed out some things. The vacuum cleaner, for instance, Daniel was cleaning his floors and things were dumped. Make a long story. Things were pulled out the drawers and the closet was pulled. Things pulled down. Somebody was looking for something, but we couldn't pinpoint where at the time, where it came from, when it happened, or whatever the case may be, and who it came from. It could have been Daniel himself at the time. That's what we was thinking. We don't know, right? Could have happened before he became missing. So we didn't have any evidence of time because we just know it happened. In other words, we knew that somebody was looking for something, but we didn't have no time. But what ended up happening, I had with my team and I, the A team, you guys heard about my A team. We was able to secure a meeting with the mayor of the Tempe, Arizona mayor Woods at the time, and along with the chief Glover and Anderson at the time to talk about Daniel's forensics. You guys probably heard me talking about getting Daniel's. I was asking you guys for donations to try to get the forensics done. Glad I didn't mess with all this forensics electronically because I would have been messing up the chain of custody that Buckeye have already been damaging. But I was able to convince the Tempe Police Department to do forensics on all of Dane's electronics, the cell phone, because I didn't believe anything Buckeye said, because I remember Detective Bill said he put Dane's phone in his pocket and they cloned it and all this crazy stuff. And the memory card was missing out of it, right, when they gave it to me. So I wanted Tempe to look at this phone, especially, and they claiming they come up in this report now, all out the blue. They at the time they weren't even talking about no deleted texts and all the stuff. But they came up with some deleted text stuff, and that's one of the first things I looked at on that phone. There was nothing in the deleted text box. But the other part is I did an examination on was that the fact that Samsung permanently deleted text after 30 days, and the time they say they did the stuff, it would already been deleted anyway. So I don't know what they extracted. They claim that's why you guys don't see it on the report, because they had it. What they're saying, you guys saw that list of word by word they did with this girl that they allowed to upload her own text messages, and I mean up to their evidence. But the thing is, you guys, that could have been altered, saying, that type deal, because it don't match the phone records. But that's another story. But like I said, you guys, um, going into this whole thing about uh, this department, I was able to, like I said, get that forensic done at Tempe. When that report came back, and I'll be honest with you, a little part of me was because I don't trust Buckeye. I look at it as some kind of cover up, something going on with that. I did research on the Buckeye Police Department. Chief Hall, I don't know how he lasted so long anyway, got suspended because they falsifying documents in their department. They changed stuff. Like I said, that's why I say, when I tell the public, don't take Buckeye Police Department police report as face value. I'd say it like that because they have a history of falsifying documents. So Chief Hall had a history of doing some business practices outside his scope of his business of being the chief of police. Uh, Things like that, you guys, at times. So that's, to me, I look at it as a crooked organization, in my opinion. And I didn't trust them. I didn't trust them handling Dane's case anymore. And so I told the Temple Police Department when they was doing this, they kept saying, and my team would testify to this, we're doing this for you as a favor to you, Mr. Robinson, doing you a favor, right? Because they saw some things I was talking about. I was able to convince them to help me out, get this forensics done on this electronics, everything from his cell phone to his personal computer. They're looking at his gaming system, all kind of stuff, you guys, they can get. And so brought all that stuff to the Tip Police Department, signed it off to them. And when the report came, they tell me, hey, look, no, we're law enforcement. We got to share this with the Buckeye Police Department. Okay, I didn't like it, but it had to, right? Because they have a case, they have a uh, uh, case open for Daniel. So was able to get that information back. They gave a copy to the Buckeye Police Department, and on their report showed that someone's in Daniel's apartment looking for something on his computer, right? And that's after he went missing. So that begs us to understand who the time frame that somebody was in there tearing up something, right? And but you don't hear that in the report because it won't match the narrative and it get too close to what really happened in my son's case. And you don't see law enforcement pushing these issues that's there. These are evidence. These are things that happen. These things been proven on forensics, but you don't see them acting upon it. They telling you guys, oh, we got this Mile IQ app that says his vehicle was in there. They wanted there for 30 days, you guys. It was in this ravine for this extra time, despite of the fact you guys don't know. And I tell you the guy's name, I'm gonna put it in public. But I talked to this company, and they do not want their app to use that way because it's not reliable. And you can't. If it was in court right now, that would be get thrown out because it's not reliable. You cannot base my son's disappearance on an unreliable app, right? So, so the thing is, they're not using cell phone pings. They're not using reliable sources that they claim they can't get, right? And they waited past this retention time and stuff like that. That's another issue I've been wanting to talk to you guys about. But it's like it ties into a lot of things why I'm doing and the reason why I'm doing it, you guys. But some issues when it comes to the retention time with telecommunication companies and things that I had meetings with. I had meetings with T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, you name it, all these companies, right? And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how they do things, their practices, and their privacy laws, and policies, and all kind of stuff. And so the thing is, you guys, it's been problematic in Daniel's case because what's happening is when you start, it's I think a lot of times with families we have to rely on law enforcement heavily. But if you really heavily engage somebody, I think News Nation asked me what my advice would be. Unfortunately, to this family, you guys know what happened in that situation. I feel really bad for the family. I'm praying for them. But what advice would I say? Stay heavily involved with law enforcement. I don't mean like just. I'm not saying that all law enforcement bad because I know there's a lot of good ones out there. I just happened to get into a bad one because Tempe was a good one at the time. I went to meetings. What you call them things? Um, uh, where you meet the mayor and things like that. I can't think of the name of it right now, but I went to some of these meetings and went to Tempe Buckeye first twice. They let didn't know who I was, right? It was really hurtful. We had this shirt on, had Daniel's shirt on, it had my team as well. They didn't acknowledge me, right? City council. I went to the city council meetings. And Buckeye was the first one. They knew who I was and set their Daniel shirts on so they can know who we are. I've been out there for all those weeks with volunteers finding human remains out there in the desert, and you can acknowledge me, someone who's helping your county, your state, of your city, find human remains, other loved ones, and bring closure to some of these cases. I even solved the case for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, found a stolen vehicle out there. So, but you couldn't acknowledge a man doing that kind of stuff for your city. They didn't even want to say hello to me. Came the second time to speak. They give you only 3 minutes to speak, I believe it was at the time. And they look like stone people. Like, get the hell out of my city council meeting. That's exactly what these people look. Mayor ain't never said that to me. The city council, none of them. The city managers, nobody. But when I go further east, I head down to Phoenix, went to the city council meeting to let them know what's going on in their city as well. I'm still having my flyer distributions going on out there. Still searching for Daniel, and I got a warmer welcome. I had one council member almost got reprimanded in a sense by the city attorney because he wanted to almost come off the bench in a sense to try to help out somehow, right? Better reception. Then I went to the Tempe Police Department, the same as that thing, better reception. So I'm saying there is departments out there that's really good, even though Phoenix have their own problems with racism and stuff like that was going on, and the Justice Department had to come in after the George Floyd situation. That my son was protesting that thing as well, Daniel. But the thing is, you know, so is the department. So I'm not saying all departments are bad, you guys. I'm just saying I just happen to run into a bad one in my opinion. So and that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of things that we have to look at when it comes to missing loved ones. Be heavily involved. When I say heavily involved, call them out. It's okay to tell law enforcement they're wrong when they're wrong. You got to always remember that law enforcement work for us. They working on our tax dollars. You don't work for them. I remember Chief Hall was accusing me in the public. So like, he's holding back evidence. I ain't never knew I was on the payroll for Buckeye Police Department, first of all. And the other part wasn't true. Matter of fact, to this date, they still attached to my Please Help Find Daniel.com website. So if you guys go on that site and you see something that says submit information, if you submit information on there, best believe that information going to the Buckeye Police Department and a copy coming to myself. So that's on Please Help Find Daniel, the website, you guys. I ain't talking about the tip line and things. Just the website. So you guys go in there. That's how much engaged, and that's how much I, even despite of the fact I don't trust the Buckeye Police Department, I still have given them information. Where you think they get them leads from? They claim they on their report. You know, I remember had Detective Biffman telling me our own story. He was telling me a story about flash theft at this Sprouts grocery store. He was telling my investigator story, me and my investigator story, and he was telling to me as they did it. I'm like, that's weird. So I let them do it. So the thing is, I'm saying, you guys, stay heavily involved with law enforcement. This is your loved one. A lot of times, if it is a bad department, things what you hear I'm saying tonight happens. Those are the realities that you face with bad police department, bad policing, and the only way, the things that get them off on things like that is the fact that 9 times out of 10, the public, the news medias, everybody would say, take it at face value. They put in a report, it got to be true. You know, no, not in this case. So what I'm saying is, you guys, just don't take everything face value. Find out for yourself as a loved one, because when somebody gonna tell you, I'm just not a parent or a man that would say, I'm a fighter. You guys, I'm not a man that gonna say I would have sat down in South Carolina with my son. You guys, think about this. Is me. This is me now. I'm just talking for David Robinson. My son that I love. I've been a single parent. I know everything. I know how my son thinks. Right. I could be wrong. Everybody's, we grow up, and don't get me wrong, we do things opposite what we did when we was kids. Sometimes, end up coming who you are. I'm sure, sound bad analogy, but I don't think Jeffrey Donald's mother taught him to eat people or something. But people become who they are, right? So I can get that part too. But what I'm saying is, you kind of have a good indication of better than law enforcement would when it comes to your loved one. So I'm just not the kind of man that would sit back in South Carolina and call law enforcement about my son I love now, and they said he went missing. Nobody heard it from him, but we ain't gonna go look for him. Hey, he's a grown man, can disappear if he want to, right? And I'm supposed to be crying on the phone or something, or crying every day of my life. And I call up in Arizona, living here in South Carolina, call in Arizona every day. Hey, Detective Biff, you hear anything yet? And he's sitting back out here, he probably on the phone like this. Oh no, I'm out here looking right now. No, we ain't got nothing going on. We working hard. I don't know what they're doing. That's my mind would tell me. They sitting back and tell you anything, right? Just to make you feel good. But they don't have no real intentions to look. He's a grown man. Disappear if you want to, type deal, in their mind. So I'm just not a man to sit back and not put action to finding my loved one. I find a lot of people I ran to. We have a young lady named Katrina, for instance. She fight for her sister named Kaya, right? And just like you guys saw, Miss Nunez with her daughter Jessica with her daughter Alicia at the time, or Jelani Day's mother Carmen Day. They was putting action to their search for their child or their loved one, and I'm like that too. I cannot be on the phone relying on somebody to look for my loved one. I have to be actively working with. I told you again, my whole idea when I was getting, even though despite I didn't say these people want to look for my son, but my mind was I was gonna get in Arizona, and I was gonna be walking hand in hand with law enforcement, and we gonna find my son. Beyond which I believed in my mind, I was gonna find Daniel within hours, if that. When I hit that Phoenix ground, I got in Phoenix, but it didn't work that way, you guys. I'm still looking for him, and it's painful. But I want to go back to what another part of this, you guys, and I've been talking longer than I did. I said I was gonna be on for 30 minutes. I told someone it's an hour 30 minutes. I'm a long-winded person. Um, but you guys, there's no secret. You guys know I'm running for Congress now, U.S. Congress, and for the House of Representatives. And those reasons came from a lot of things, and I told you guys about this before. Those reasons came from just everything I've been through. As when I say me, I'm my whole family, but I'm saying me specifically because I've been on the ground doing these things, right? And when you're on the ground doing things and you work with families, you putting events together with team, and You got a desert team and people that's working hard and doing things. So make a long story, you learn a lot. You learn a lot from people. You learn a lot about things that's going on. You have meetings and under this crisis that was going on for my son and for my family, trying to get answers. I have my family. I smile. I smile a lot about something. I smile through my pain a lot. So you guys see me smile. Sometimes it's pain, and I hear my family come to me. Sometimes they don't know. They don't understand. I get it, and I'm saying my family, my side of the family, will say, David, you ain't got no answers now. You should have answers by now. What happened to your son? What's going on? You ain't found answers yet? And you know how hard that is to hear that, you guys? Because I feel like somehow I'm failing at it, right? Because in my mind, I would have found my son day one I got on the ground, right? And, it's hard. But I'll tell you what, you guys, if a lot of this stuff didn't happen the way it did, it hadn't been almost 3 years, I wouldn't be running for Congress right now, you know? And I wouldn't have been put in a position where I have to want to be a champion for other missing persons out there and their families, because it's hard for me to constantly watch people in pain and they feel the same way I do. If you guys only know half of the pain that I have inside my body that I hold back all the time, right? And the failure it feels like when you can't get those answers yet, right? So and then you get these roadblocks from law enforcement, the people that you say you trust, and and then at the same time, the coverage is the news media coverage is the this, and and I've been fortunate, you guys, and I felt kind of offended. I've been I felt offended for a while. The Petito family, they're friends of mine. I felt some offended in certain areas. At first, I didn't. You guys, when I first heard of the Petito story, for instance, people kept coming to me about it. This batch, I'm so focused on getting Daniel's story out there in the public's eye, and they was tapping him on the shoulder, pretty much, not literally, but people tapping him on the shoulder on social media to my family and telling me about the story about this young lady. Heard the story. Of course, the first thing I felt was pain for this family, because the girl, I think she was like 20 something years old, early 20s, same age, around age Daniel, about 22, 24, somewhere around this age. And I said, here it is, another child going missing. But then it's all about the coverage. Is that part is what I felt a family should get, is the kind of coverage that they deserve. But at the same time, it took me 3 months to get there, right? It took me a length of time to get there, you guys. And what got me was, I'm saying, the painful part came from um, that the story was contributed. It says Daniel Robinson's story made it here because of the Petito story, and that was the offensive part for me, because nobody was there when I wasn't getting no sleep. I was still conducting desert searches. I was talking to people, telling them thank you every night. I mean, when I say I literally didn't sleep, I literally couldn't sleep. I was so busy that I was surprised I made it mentally, you guys, because I didn't sleep. I had to stay up and constantly push and push and push on social media, put in all the work, and then the contribution goes to because of something happened to someone else. That Daniel story made it. No, and I say this because you guys need to hear this, and this is why I feel it made it, because I've been persistent and pushing Daniel's story to a point on social media that this one tweet came out, and I'll never forget it. There's a young lady um, retweeted something I put up on Twitter, and she says, "Have anybody even took a thought of something to the effects of looking at the story of this young man?" And I didn't know it as at the time when the Tita story was breaking. I guess I didn't know at the time, and so it went viral. Her tweet went viral. Then also I was hitting up, and I'm telling you, some of the families that they can do this as well. I was hitting up celebrities every night, hitting them up hard. When I see hitting them up, I wasn't hitting up them. I was hitting up their family members and their friends. And the way you do this for families who are trying to do so, what you do is you don't look for the blue little star on a thing. You look for the ones that don't have it, because the ones that don't have it and have a little bit of followers and things, that's the family members. They following them. That's who you hit up, and it worked, because Joy Reid from NSNBC heard through her friend that I was hitting up about Daniel's story, and she went on there and started talking about white woman syndrome or whatever thing called, and it made an uproar or whatever to some people, right? But it's statistically true, and and that gave Daniel's case a push, because then I was able to come on that show and talk about it. right? And so it started moving on from that point. To make a long story, you guys, but it took a lot of work. It took a lot of hard work, and it's kind of hard when you have to push the media, you had to work your website, you had to work searches, you had to create these flyers. I laugh at these flyers. It's crazy, you guys. I had these flyers about the sheet of this paper right here, about the size of paper, laminated. I used to go get them laminated and did the best I can with them and get them out to these hospitals and stuff. And thinking people gonna somehow keep these big piece of paper in their hands and walk around and say, "Hey, you haven't seen this guy?" You know, that type deal. But that's why I came up with the flyers and the design smaller. That took over time, you guys, to come up with something small that can fit in somebody's pocket and pocketbook and things and carry it around with them. But the thing is, but it grew from that point. It grew from that point, and it came from no love for my son. I have never organized a thing in my life. Was able to do that. Organize a grassroots search, put team together. Had a desert team out there. Had a team outside the desert. Volunteers, hundreds of volunteers every week, going out this grassroots movement. We are extended family. Everybody who came to search know what we are. We are family, and everybody who's on the social media list to me right now, we are family. And I call it a grassroots, and it is a grassroots because it wasn't no help from law enforcement, not a dime from law enforcement, not a dime for anybody, but you guys was donating, keeping all that stuff going in the desert, all that equipment, all the time, all that stuff, right? Flyers, billboards, you name it, you guys. And I really appreciate each and every last one of you. And also, like I said, because I had to go through all of that and learn all these lessons through all this pain and over time, you know what I'm saying? I started learning a lot. I've been put in the right places at the right time. Like I said, these meetings, talking to senators, state senators, and Congress people, and this and that, all kind of stuff, guys. And I learned a lot. So it's like I was becoming educated into some things that I didn't know about, you know. And so now that I know some things, now I see the problems, and I'm looking forward to work on those solutions. That's the reason why I'm running for Congress, you guys. I'm running for to get some. These are Americans. Everybody who Daniel's an American scientist. I call him America's son because again, what happened to my family and the way it happened to somebody right now with some law enforcement agency. The pain that the family's going through, etc. All that is happening to somebody right now. And you best believe they need what families do need from you guys that's listening to me is you to share their story. Something simple as that can mean a lot to a family because they can't be heard. Nobody will not hear about their stories. Nobody's not gonna go look for their loved ones. I mean, all that kind of stuff goes on. I'm telling you guys. So we got the indigenous folks. I've been fortunate to have one of the indigenous Americans on my board for the Daniel Robinson Foundation, one of my boards, and to give me information about the indigenous women and children that's going missing at an alarming rate as well. We don't hear about that. We don't hear about statistics of black people going missing in this country and the rate they are going. And we're only what 13% of the population, but we make 40% of all the missing cases. You know, so you kind of look at some of these things and that happen in the country, and you can't when you listen to these women and crying over their children. And this I mean, this everything in totality, you guys. You cannot ignore the fact, especially when God put you in a place where you can make some kind of change and make some kind of action or do something, and you don't do it. The second part is, you guys, I'm from South Carolina, so you guys will hear a lot about that as well. But it has a lot to do with the missing person element of things that I'm running for. But I'm running for some other things again. I have a person who's more concerned about one person making it to office than his own constituents, right? So those are things I'll be talking about as well. So that would be something outside of the missing person realm because there's a lot of things going on with that part too that I care about. I'm from South Carolina. I lived in my district, born and raised in my district, and just District 6 and 2 is the districts. And so I know a lot about these districts, but the missing person element, you guys, is what pushed me to where I'm at because I need to get those things changed with the private policies and all this kind of stuff that delayed. I couldn't even get, you guys, one thing for sure. You ever heard the old saying um, that nothing ever disappears, really, really, really goes away? When you put it on social media or electronically, it never really, really go away. Yeah, but yeah, just remember that. That's all I can say. And but it's a delay for families who need it, who need it. Had I had some things that I'm working or will be working on, um, you know, had some of those things been in place now that I know could and should, this whole cell phone ping problem that we have to this date for Daniel, it'd be non-existent. We didn't have no problems. So the thing is, you guys, that's what I'll be fighting for. I'll be fighting for missing loved ones, people who going through the same thing my family's going through, the same pains that I would go through. And the father who would be doing the same thing I'm doing. I know I've seen these mothers, man, but fathers who would be doing the same thing I'm doing, and I really believe good fathers do that. Is to you got to do whatever and for your family, man. That's just I've been taught that way. I come from a single family, single parent home. My mother, she taught me all the good things. I say it like that. Put me in the right places, and hey, work if you want anything, you got to work for it. That's how she said. You got to put work with your hand. You don't just take it. You can work for it, and so I'm working for it, you guys, and I need your support. So I'm here. It's not that saying this all campaign thing, but I need your help, you guys, to please go and find how to help. David Robinson for Congress.com. David Robinson for Congress.com. I really, guys, I need you guys' support. I need funding. When I say fund, I have a person I'll be running up against, and I need a lot. I can't tell you that. Person that held a seat for many years. A person will look at us. When I say us, I look at this grassroots movement as a movement that ain't gonna do nothing, right? I don't believe that because I see the division that come from this one area. Like I said, in my state, more concerned about one person and the division that's going on in Congress and everywhere. I mean, it's terrible. You guys know what's going on in this country. I didn't see that out in the desert. I did not see it in the desert. And God had his way of making things happen the way it did. I'm telling you guys, this is my family, my extended family. I say anybody's my family who would take their own gas money, come out there to go look for a stranger in 118-degree weather. I call them family. You know what I'm saying? Daniel's a stranger. I mean, I get it. They put up. It showed me how many good people are out here in this country, you guys, and nobody care about your race. Nobody care about your religion. Nobody care about nothing. Or whatever about you. Nobody care. I saw it as the same thing I felt when I was in Afghanistan with my battle buddies out there. They had my six and I had their 12 and, et cetera, guys. We had each other. We had each other and we all Americans. And that's what I saw. And I still see it with this whole grassroots movement. I like to call it a grassroots movement because it's real people like me, real people like you that actually come from a cause that could show everybody in this country what we forgot about, what really matters the most. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. And when we actually put that little crazy stuff we hear from some politicians, we put that, I call them career politicians. And I've said about the career thing, I feel about that. But career politicians, we hear all this crazy stuff just to hold on power or whatever case may be, right? But career politicians are people who, that's why I believe in term limits, but career politicians are people who take their kids to through college and it's a regular job. So being when it comes to their constituents and people that they should care about, that I mean that's just I say like this: if I was to be a magician, let's say I want to be a magician, I want to trick people to believe that I could pull a rabbit out of a hat. When I first show it to you guys tonight, you say, "Man, look at that! I see what that guy did. He's not good. I can see what he did. He pull that rabbit out. He pull out some little out of his pocket in his jacket or something. I don't know, right?" But if you've been there for a long time, just doing it over and over again, you're not a con people. You con them and believe them, have them seeing and believe what you want them to see and believe. And that's what I see what happening to me. And we need honest people who's going to actually get the job done and worry about what people try to find a way to cause us to really come back together and stop having all this division in this country. I don't like it. I'll be honest. I know you guys don't like it either, but it's stupid to me. But that's another thing. I wanted to talk about that just tonight, but more so I just wanted to put this on the back end of my live here because I'll be jumping off in a minute. But I am running for Congress, guys, and I definitely need you guys' support. Trying to make sure I put my campaign together the correct way. I need funding to do that, you guys. I need funding. You guys, I've seen it. You guys helped me when I was in that desert. I've seen it. I've seen it before, and I need it again. So if you guys can help me out with that. I truly appreciate that. I really need it, so I can be competitive. We can make it. And when I say we, I want to take this whole grassroots movement. I want to take this whole missing Americans. We're gonna have to correct that wording too. It's not missing person cases, guys. It's missing American cases because we are Americans that's going missing on an alarming rate. It's like an opioid crisis. It's a crisis, and we need to address it in this country and for what it really is. Again, it pisses me off when I've been almost died in Afghanistan to defend our constitution, our way of life. And, we got missing people here in the United States, but they go to Pakistan again. I use that a lot and go find Osama bin Laden, right? They find who you want to find, right? Again, you treat a case the way you want to treat it. If they would look at Daniel's case the same way they look at law enforcement, Daniel would have been found a long time ago. So it depends. People do what they want to do, and we got to do some things to make sure that people actually get in the fair shake that they should. Close the disparity gaps that we see in this country as well when it comes to missing person cases. It's bad, you guys. It's bad when you look at statistics on everything. Statistics don't lie. So you got the statistics there, everything is horrible. So we got to fix it, and I'm really willing to do it. You guys are really take those risks and those chances to work on that. If you guys give me that fair shake, I really appreciate it because I'm really gonna try my best, and I hope you guys can get me there. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I wish I could talk to a lot of you in the comment section. I see like 507 comments, and that's really beautiful. I really appreciate you guys. Sign that petition. Thank you, Team Wildflower, for putting that up. Sign that petition, you guys. Put your voice to that petition. Go to pleasehelpfinddaniel.com and put your voice to the petition. That really helps, you guys, because I need that petition. That's you guys backing me as well. Like I said, to go further, taking this grassroots movement further, please, you guys, support me. I am running for Congress. The David Robinson for Congress.com, davidrobinsonforcongress.com. You guys can see how you can help, join the campaign, etc. Thanks so much, you guys. I guess I'll see you guys on the next live, whenever that is. So I'll be pushing that sometime this week, you guys, and I hope I get to see you back again. Again, I'll leave with this every time, and know that sound redundant, but please, guys, if you got any beef with your loved ones, let it go if you can. But if you can't let it go because that's serious to you, then at least tell that person that you love them. Say, hey, look, I love you, but I ain't gonna talk to you, right? Can't talk to you, whatever. I need some break from you, whatever. But you just need to know I love you, because time could come, God forbid, if it happen to you, and I'm praying it don't, that you may have to reduce your loved one down to old voicemails, old videos, and that's what I have to do for Daniel. Last time I was able to talk to my son on the phone and tell him I love him myself, and he know this, is 2 days before he went missing. The last time I could say, Daniel, I love you. And love you, son. That's how I would say it. And that's the last time I was able to say it to him. And that's hurtful, guys. It's hurtful when you realize that and you look at it and say, man, it's gone almost 3 years since you tell your own child, I mean, he's a grown man, he's a child of me, that you love him, and you want that person to know that. So the thing is, thank you guys for listening in. Hope you have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Be blessed. I wish I could have given the comments in the session, guys. I'm sorry. Time going past me. But God bless you guys. Take care of yourself. Talk to you next time.